Nerd morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy. I'm with my brother Joseph.
Guys.
And we are going to be discussing kind of our reading progress and experience this week with Wheel of Time. We've been going through each of these books kind of in a marathon-like experience in preparation for the new series. And that's where I wanted to jump in right now as we got some first look images from the Wheel of Time show that's going to be on Amazon Prime, and looking at the pictures and kind of the things there. What are your reactions, Joseph?
I think it looks great. Reading through the article from Entertainment Weekly,
Mm-hmm.
it said they're only having 15 minutes of airtime for Shadar Logoth. And the set looks phenomenal. It's like
Right?
huge. So it looks like they're putting a great deal of love and effort into producing the show. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to November for that.
Yeah.
Really am.
Um,
So
the taste and feel of this type of a show is supposed to be big. It's supposed to be epic. And
yeah,
though like content wise and story elements wise, it's very, very different than the Game of Thrones. I've seen a lot of
yeah,
people talk about it in comparison only because it's a fantasy and it's trying to be a big epic that's going to
right.
cover a lot, and the budget for it is going to be massive like
Yeah.
that. Cool things that I've also read is that it is greenlit for a season 2.
Yep.
And we don't know exactly yet what Wheel of Time is going to really look like in terms of like season 1 book 1, season 2 book 2, or how that exactly is all going to play out.
Uh-huh.
If so, we're in for a 14 season show, which
Or
honestly, if they
15,
or
well,
15,
if
if
they
they do it,
do,
yeah.
if they, yeah.
um
So
I imagine if they do parts of the prequel, it'll be in flashback form, so
odds
I'm
are
imagining.
odds are good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, though that'd be cool. um but
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
like
would,
what we're seeing
right?
so
It looks
far.
exciting. Personally, I would take book 1 season 1,
Hmm.
book 2 and 3 season 2, book
Okay.
4 season 3. There's a lot
Oh,
happens
oh
in
man.
book 4. You could probably
Just
take part of 5, but
yeah.
you know, and some of the others like the Winter's Heart,
Hmm.
and the
It's that.
two around it, those could all be squished into one season.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely
So
possible. Particularly with the first several books.
yeah.
We kind of do hit on a big climactic ending, which is a very good season end.
Yep.
With the Great Hunt, we end with ultimately him being Rand being declared and having a big epic battle, right?
Yep.
With Shan Chan, Forsaken, everything, and like that's a good season end.
Yeah.
With the Eye of the World, we have them essentially going into the Blight, exploring some
Uh-huh.
really interesting mythology and battling a Forsaken, right? That's
Yep.
a big thing there. And so it would feel right to have each season have its own book, but
Oh, sure.
budget wise and time wise and audience retention wise, like there are some
Right.
of these that could get maybe
Oh, yeah.
blended in a little bit, particularly kind of in the middle books.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
um
We'll see. We'll
yeah,
see.
we'll see. Okay, so for me on reading, I finished book 4, The Shadow Rising, and I am in The Fires of Heaven, which is book 5, and book reviews is going to be coming out on the channel. So be watching for those. Um, but I don't know, I've been really, really enjoying it. And I think one of the biggest things that I've been enjoying is the different character struggles,
Uh-huh.
and seeing that experience, because I think it's so interesting that there is so much internal conflict, because yes, we do have to battle in real life outwardly problems. That's a thing. But most of our conflicts in our life really is like inside of us.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, explored in a really amazing way, particularly with Rand throughout the
Especially
whole
with
story.
Rand.
Um,
Yes.
but I don't know. I think even like with Perrin, so with inside of the Shadow Rising is Perrin's big, awesome battle to save the two rivers and that
Yep.
whole area. And there's some crazy cool battles and adventures and things like that. But because we got time with him, we also see kind of like he's the wolf nature versus his like human nature, and he's having to this battle against himself in that regard. And
Yep.
I think one of the most interesting things with that, and also with Rand's story, particularly towards the end, is this level of acceptance. This is who I am. I'm going to
Yes.
choose to accept me and then let those things that are me grow. And I'm going to be better for it instead of trying to fight against
Right.
ourselves.
Trying to hide and no, I don't understand it. It's scary. I don't want it.
Yeah.
That and his burgeoning relationship with Fael. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He dude has the hots for Fael from day one.
Yes, indeed.
But he's like, but I have to keep her safe. But but I have to keep her safe. And
Yeah.
she's like, dude, I can take care of myself. So,
Fael
it,
is one of the best characters. Because of her culture and upbringing, she's very fiery and it's
yep,
fun. It's very fun. And to contrast that with Perrin, who though is extremely powerful, is very soft.
he's
Um,
he chooses to
chooses
be
that.
gentle.
Yes.
Yes. Uh-huh.
The contrast is just so fun, and
Uh-huh.
there's this constant denial, and I think that's another thing that they have is like Rand always is like, oh, I can't, talk to Elaine because I'm just this lowly somebody, but she's this
Who am
princess
I?
and queen, and
Uh,
there's that like
uh-huh.
self-doubt, and there's the same contrast as well that they're like, oh, he's the dragon reborn, and who am I, and that
He's gonna go
contrast.
mad and destroy the
Yeah.
world.
They always
Uh-huh.
have like these constant like self-doubts, and like that's always interesting. And one of the things that's
Yep.
really fun, particularly in the Dragon Reborn and the Shadow Rising, is two books that I've noticed this a lot, is parents like, oh man, I don't understand girls, like I wish like Rand or Matt was here because they could explain it to me. They're always good with women.
Right.
And then
They get it. They do. And
right,
you
they
go
they
over to
they
the
know.
next one.
Yep. And then
And
they're like,
I
Matt's
wish
like, I
Perrin.
just don't understand girls. I wish that these other guys were here because they know. And then Rand,
Yeah.
exactly the same thing. I just don't understand girls. I wish Perrin and Matt were here. And they're dealing with the same issues.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so funny because there's so much parallel there. It's so
Yeah.
funny. But also like really, again, like a real life moment there is like we battle with like the same type of like demons and struggles that a lot of other people face. And we
Right.
think that we're so isolated to our own experience, but it's really not. And there's, we might have our own take in some of our like struggles or fears or doubts, but they're also like pretty universal human experiences.
Right.
And we just see ourselves as our own selves wallowing here
Yeah.
on our own.
Right. The details change, granted,
Yeah.
but the gist of it is, yeah, it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
So
With you, where are you on your reading?
I have sped through this week. I got all the way through book 3
Ooh.
into book 4.
Oh man.
I think I'm on chapter 10.
Mm-hmm.
The Everyone is splitting ways. Perrin and
Yes.
Loyal and Fael have just gone into uh, the ways.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Nynaeve and Elaine are on the ship heading for Tanchico.
Uh-huh.
Rand is just about to say, guess what, everybody? We're going to the Isle Waste.
Yeah.
Let's go. Uh, Moraine is like, what is he going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
And book 4, Shadow Rising, is my favorite, in
Interesting.
large part because of the journeys.
Mhm.
It starts branching off, and we start seeing a little deeper into all of the characters.
Yeah.
Uh, but most especially, what I love about this book is when they make it to Roydion and going through the Crystal Spires,
Mhm.
and you see the past,
Yes.
understand a lot about what happened at the breaking.
Mhm.
I have a few theories that I hope to confirm through this read through
Mhm.
of who actually created the boar and started all of the problems.
Uh-huh.
I hope to confirm that this read through,
Yeah.
and but also where the Aiel and the Tinkers came from. We find
Mhm.
out they started out as the same people,
Mhm.
and then their paths diverged into the awesome Aiel that we know. But
Yeah.
it's just fascinating. I'm so looking forward to getting through that part.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's unique and special about Shadows Rising is the dive that we get with the IL culture.
Yes.
And it's a
Uh-huh.
beautiful culture. It's
Oh, I
very,
love
very
it.
interesting.
Yep.
And their like belief systems of like toe and honor, and the way that they build out this culture and standards for living,
Yeah.
and how it links to their ancient past with the way of the leaf is
Uh-huh.
really, really interesting.
It really is.
I think one of the interesting things that we get here, particularly with looking back, like you were talking about through those visions of the past, is we like to be able to try to understand how the world works and how the world's put together,
Yep.
but we don't really get to. Um,
Yeah.
and here they get to see, here's really where these different beliefs came from. This is really like the turning point in history.
Right. Here are
Um,
these
yeah,
moments. Yeah. Uh-huh.
and literature gets to do that because it can say these are the turning moments, and the real life isn't quite as clean as that, but there are big moments that do turn history, and
Yeah.
so it also parallels some of that reality as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
um, I love, like you said, you just had finished the Dragon Reborn. His actual acceptance that he has of being the dragon in that one, because he
Yep.
declares himself ultimately in the Great
Hmm.
Hunt, but he really like believes it
Yeah.
and accepts it at the end of Dragon Reborn, which puts him on an upward and downward spiral, um, which is the interesting thing that he battles with then throughout the rest of the series.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, oh, so many good things. I'm really, really
It's
excited to be, continuing through the series, getting there done before November.
right.
And
That it'll
uh,
be it's a rush. I don't ever go through series this fast.
mhm.
It's fun. It
Yeah,
really is fun.
you get like sucked into the world because you're just, you're doing it so quickly, and it's a fun experience that way.
Yeah. It is. Yep.
Yeah. Other thoughts that you have for this week?
I really remember thinking through the Dragon Reborn, uh, Rand's journey where he's alone. The few little snippets that we get
Hmm.
is really of him kind of finding himself, like you said.
Yeah.
Uh, he's having the dreams and the nightmares, and the beginning of Egwene going through Teleon Riyadh, and
Hmm.
how she finds Rand one time, but he can't
Hmm.
believe that it's her because of
Uh-huh.
all the other nightmare elements that have happened.
Yeah.
When that, I remember thinking other times reading through, should have been their main strength.
Yeah.
That could have been their communication, which
Yeah.
wins wars. Communication wins wars, and that
Yeah.
could have been it. So I was thinking that again, like, oh, if they could only talk,
Yeah.
it would have solved so many problems. But
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah. That's a really good, like, that's a really good thought. That's one of the biggest things that they do struggle with through the entire stories is information and
Yep.
communication.
Yep.
And the barriers that we have physically or beyond are always a really interesting thing to delve through and explore. So
Yep.
yeah, those are really good thoughts. Well, thank you, Joseph, so much for joining in and discussing. This story is so interesting, and I love the world, and it's been so much fun. So there's going to be more of this throughout the channel over the next coming months, and yeah, look forward to that. You can find more Nerd Morning content at places like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and also check out the gaming channel, which you can watch the game streams on Twitch at Nerd Morning, or here on YouTube at Nerd Morning Gaming, and also on Facebook. So check out for those as well. Thank you again, Joseph, and we'll catch you
Yeah.
all next time.
See you later.